The following review is intended for entertainment purposes and targeted for adult fans of the series.
The bad news is that Zedd. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another Power Rangers Cosmic Fury episode review. I know the wait has been a couple of extra days for this video to come out, but that's actually intentional, putting this show onto a schedule. If the power protects me and the blessings of the Masters are with me, Cosmic Fury reviews will now be coming out on Wednesdays, just like this one.
You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
Until the show has run through and I've reviewed all 10 episodes. The Rangers find themselves in pretty bad shape right now, stranded 30 million light years from Earth, where Lord Zedd is taking things over. Will the Rangers be able to recover from this? Is it perhaps finally time to meet the Cosmic Fury Rangers? Well, let's find out by taking a look at the third episode of Power Rangers Cosmic Fury, Off Grid.
Please make sure you're subscribed to the channel.
Yeah, and make sure you got your notifications set up by hitting that little bell icon.
Right you. What he said was, you can consider checking us out on Patreon or Ko-fi at Orange Ranger Videos.
In the comments of the last video, one of the things I commented on in regards to how I wasn't really liking how they were handling Javi's arm was that I thought that now that he'd had a couple of moments to be sad about it, that it would just go away. Thankfully, I was wrong. This episode starts with Javi relearning how to play guitar. Considering the fact he's not snapping those strings like a hot knife through butter, I'd say he's making progress. Billy, Amelia, Ion, and Solon work on the morphers as Billy's giving a little bit of small talk about his Ranger history. Amelia asks if there's anything in his experiences that could yield them some advice. Billy is kind of cryptic in response, just asking if the Morphin Masters helped them out the last time they lost their powers. They say yes, and Billy says that he's no Morphin Master, but to go ahead and leave the idea of restoring their powers with him. Amelia asks about the comm system, wanting to check on Earth, but I mean, obviously they're out of range. She asks Solon if they still have that antenna that they use to send messages to Rafcon. Solon goes, if they set that up on a dune outside the ship, that would probably work. And I find myself once again calling Cosmic Fury's science into debate. Once again, they are the length of 300 galaxies away from Earth. Ion starts to freak out, and Amelia assigns him the task of cooking something for the team, because good food will help with morale. Turns out I jumped the gun just a little bit, as now Javi snaps every string on the guitar. Solon tells him that it's just going to take practice, but he edges ever closer to what I'm really wanting from him in this missing arm storyline, saying that he doesn't want pity. He just needs help. He's not even sure he can restring the guitar with this robotic arm. Billy, seemingly trying to help everyone on the ship at the same time, wondering if that'll be a storyline down the road, says that he will help Javi restring the guitar, but Javi's going to have to use that musical ear to tell him if he's done it right. Fern and Izzy, in turn, are helping Billy. Indirectly, they're clearing out a lab to make it another bedroom for him. Fern has apparently gotten over the whole being mad at Izzy for being trapped out here thing, and the stuff that Izzy wasn't telling her about being a Ranger, showing her that she found some schematics for the base. Izzy looks at them and realizes it's more than that. These are plans that Solon made to convert the base into a spaceship.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
Okay, we've danced around this one long enough. Let's address this straight on. The base is a spaceship. I have called it the base ship since the very beginning because it's painfully obvious that it was designed to be a ship. It has crew quarters, scanning arrays, communications. This is a Ravkonian spaceship that crash landed on Earth and they converted it into a base.
Okay, dude, calm down. Take a chill pill.
Sticking around, are ya? Anyway, they do edge into the conflict between the two from earlier, Fern saying it would have been nice to have a heads up about all of this space stuff, and Izzy responding that she was just trying to play it cool and not ruin things. Fern's just glad that if they're trapped in space, at least they're together, and they almost kiss, dang it, when interrupted by a raging Ion. This doesn't really lead to anything in the short term. It'll come back later on in the episode. Ion's just upset that there's not really any food to cook in the kitchen. Amelia says, let's get going on the antenna, and Fern volunteers to go along, with Ion also volunteering to go along to take the chance to gather up some of whatever forageable food that this planet might have. Izzy, however, slams the brakes on bringing Fern, saying that they don't know what dangers are outside the ship, and they can't morph, so they can't protect her. Of course, I would think the fact that they can't morph is kind of the entire point. Since they can't morph, they're in just as much danger as Fern, who is also athletic and capable. Billy is working on the whole restoring powers thing, holding a dino key near to Red's staff. The key glows, indicating that it's reacting to morphing grid energy. Solon says that Mick's theory, Mick not being here to share that theory for some reason, I think he's still looking for Zato, was that the staffs that the Morphomasters use channel grid energy directly. Fern walks by and decides to play audience surrogate for all of the new folks. What exactly are the Morphin Masters? Basically space wizards with magic staffs. Also very tall. Billy gets an idea. Between the staff channeling grid energy directly and the keys reacting to the staff, maybe he can create a unique connection to the biofield. It was kind of weird in a good way hearing a character like Billy using RPM type terminology like biofield. He says he'll need a molecular transducer, which Solon says is in the engine room, but it's kind of a tight fit in there. I don't know what that... Outside, Ion has had no trouble finding food, or what might be food, if it's edible, and not poisonous. Since he's been so successful, the others ask him to come help with the antenna, but then he spots something and says that they should come take a look.
Let me show you something!
True facts, I low-key love that cutaway gag, and that's why I cut that last line short, just so I could use it. Anyway, Ion has found an egg that hatches into a baby scuttleworm. Whatever those are. It basically looks like kind of a larval caterpillar, except it's the size of like an ottoman or a poodle. Anyway, it lunges at Ion, bites him on the shoulder. Nothing comes of that. Then dives off and eats all of the food that Ion had gathered up. It then crawls off a ways and transforms, basically splitting open and crawling up out of the former body into this multi-mouthed rubber-suited monster thing. The monster suit was seen on Q Ranger, but the transformation was original, I'm pretty sure, and it was creepy as crud. Amelia has the Garcias work on the antenna, while she and Ion summon their weapons and try to fight the monster. Funny enough, most of that fighting happens off-screen just with sound effects, while we watch Izzy and Javi work on the antenna. When they finally finish, Javi runs over and smacks the monster hard, sending it way back. For the very first time, Javi looks impressed with his robot arm. Back in the base ship, Solon says that they're already getting signals from Earth. Again, 30 million Light years. Anyways, they pull up Buzz Blast and yeah, Earth is being invaded. Every major city on Earth has a drill ship hovering over it. Thankfully, J-Borg mentions, it's off screen, but at least it's brought up, that the other Power Ranger teams are fighting back against the threat. However, something's keeping all of their Zords from functioning properly. That signal gets cut off, so Solon pulls up another from Coral Harbor, where General Shaw of Grid Battle Force is holding a press conference. A really good one, too. She explains that the Earth has been surrounded by a force field which is preventing any Zord from functioning properly. They are working on the problem, however, and Earth stands against Zedd, united and defiant.
Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
Izzy says that a force field blocking the Zords has Lord Zedd's meaty fingerprints all over it. And I mentioned that line just to be super nitpicky and point out that Lord Zedd has metallic caps at the end of his fingers. He would not have meaty fingerprints. He would not have any fingerprints at all. Anyways, this sets the Rangers back a bit. Even if they could find a way to morph, they wouldn't be able to use the Cosmic Fury Zords on Earth. Ion declares that he's going to go cook something, which is exactly what he was going to do before, and he still doesn't have any ingredients. So what exactly is he going to cook? In Osaka, Japan, Lonnie is surprised to see her son Ollie walk in. He declares that the grid energy did eventually cure him, and he managed to escape from Zedd's ship. And I mean, he is genuine this time, saying that he wants to get Lord Zedd back for this. And the first step to that is finding the rest of his Ranger team. Lonnie is cautious, but can't help but believe her son, showing him a message that she intercepted from Mick. Mick says that Zato's energy has been detected somewhere on the planet Levina. Ollie says that's fantastic. If he finds Zato, the other Rangers will all flock to him, just like flies to rotting meat. That's right, Ollie is still evil, and this scene was an amazing performance by Kai Moya, twisting from faked, genuine seeming goodness back to that evil persona, even teasingly thanking Mama Bear for her help. Next up is a scene that I have some mixed feelings about. Ion is making a lot of noise in the kitchen, so Amelia goes to check on him, asking him what's going on. He loves cooking, but right now he seems more stressed out than ever. Basically, in the end, yes, Ion was hiding his feelings that he's still very stressed out and scared about Zato being missing. Cosmic Fury is just starting to drift into the dreaded moral of the day territory, but they've been good morals so far, so I've kind of been holding off on making that official. When things look bad, focus on hope. She says that that's what's getting her through missing Ollie, and while, hey, she may not be his best friend like Zato is, in the finest Ranger tradition, they are stronger together, and the two of them can talk about anything, anytime. Maybe they can talk about the fact that I'm guessing Ion went back out foraging because he's cooking some kind of purple and green stew. I really wanted the meat in the stew to be the scuttleworm that attacked them earlier. They would have killed that thing in self-defense. And now he's working on some kind of a dessert. Anyway, we'll talk about why I have mixed feelings about this scene in the pros and cons. Fern and Izzy pull kind of a clever trick, actually, to ask Solon about the plans to convert the base into a ship, saying that they could jazz up the decor around here, maybe hang up some posters. Ooh, like this blueprint we found. Solon says she worked on that for a long, long time, but just couldn't ever get it to work. Then the base's alarm goes off because, no, that wasn't actually the scuttleworm in the stew pot, because it's back and running at the ship. Billy has locked himself into the engine room and has not answered his communicator for hours. Amelia says they may not be able to morph, but they can still fight. Fern isn't really sure about this, but Izzy says it's their job to protect people. Like her, for example. Let's just keep adding on to this. Fern is weak and helpless and needs defending thing.
I am not a maiden in need of defending.
Outside, the worm thoroughly smacks them around until it gets to Ion, stopping and sniffing at him. Izzy thinks that it might have imprinted when it hatched, but in a nice, clever subversion of that usual trope, that's not actually it. The scuttleworm can smell the stew on Ion's apron. Realizing that the creature is still just hungry, he gets an idea, teleporting away. To save you from the false drama the episode holds for about a minute of, oh my goodness, did Ion just bail on his teammates? He teleports back on a bike that was apparently in the base, although I suppose Ion's been living there, so that does kind of make sense, and the stew pot in a special backpack, luring the monster away. He rides around for a bit and then throws the bag, their dinner, I'll remind you, onto the ground, letting the worm eat it up, which I guess solves that problem. Anyway, onto Earth, or Earth orbit, I should say. Ollie returns to Zedd, who is being subjected to the filming of Squillia's latest TikTok, to report about Mick having located Zato somewhere on Levina. He requests an entire team of monsters to capture Zato, saying that if they want to defeat the Rangers, they should copy their methods. Zedd grants him the team of dancers that Squillia was using for her video, leaving one of them in charge of the invasion of Earth. He was talking to her, but it would make a lot more sense for it to be him left in charge. Anyway, saying that there's another planet that he has always wanted to conquer. My money would be on Eltar.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
Back on Eridus, the episode takes the time to explain the solution to a question that the audience was not really asking. The monster was attacking the ship because the kitchen vent was releasing the smells of cooking out into the air. They have now fixed the kitchen vent. The purpose of the kitchen vent is to vent things like smoke and steam out of the kitchen to begin with, so by fixing it, they've probably actually broken it, but moving on. Billy finally leaves the engine room, wheeling out a draped platform. He pulls off the drape, showing that the platform is holding Red's staff and a case that contains 6 new morphers. The morphers link with the Rangers' communicators right away, with 4 of them teleporting directly to their chosen Ranger. Billy explains that he kept the dinosaur motif because it just felt right for this team. He spouts some technobabble about how he got all this to work, but then just decides to show them. He activates the platform, and Red's staff opens the morphing grid above their heads. 6 orbs float down from the grid, 4 to the Rangers, the other 2 to Solon, intended for Ollie and Zato when they return. So I don't have one of these just yet. I will be getting one, of course. It's my main Ranger collection item, but the Cosmic Fury Morpher, wrist mounted, the hatch opens, you put the orb in, the hatch closes, and it's morphin' time. The morphin sequence is very similar to the last, the main difference being that instead of hanging in kind of the void of the grid and the suit forming on them, the Rangers sort of flip and jump through their dinosaurs with the suit forming on them as that happens. They have the same helmets, but these gold and somewhat gray shoulder shields and a sort of gray and gold hip shield on one side. They also have brand new weapons. Izzy gets the tiger claws, basically daggers or maybe short swords. Ion gets the chopping jaws. It's basically an arm-mounted sword, like he puts his hand inside to hold it. Javi gets the stegospike, which is an axe. And Amelia gets the ankylo hammer, which needs even less description. It's a warhammer. So, you know, some new suit designs, some new weapons. There's not really any other changes I think I need to mention.
Just one more thing.
Oh, right! I should probably mention that Amelia is now the Red Ranger. Yes, listen, this is no surprise. We've all known about this for months, but this is the official moment of reveal, so let me have a little bit of drama, okay? Amelia realizes when she's looking at her Anklo hammer that something seems off about the color, so she removes her helmet to take a look at herself. At first, she thinks that her being chosen as the Red Ranger means that Zedd is dead, which is a pretty natural conclusion thinking about it. That's not necessarily true. But... So, I saw someone comment on this a while back, and I do think that this is a topic worthy of a little bit of discussion. Billy says if the morphing grid chose Amelia to be the Red Ranger, it's reacting to something inside of her. The other Rangers say that's absolutely true. She's basically been leading them since Zedd was lost. But the idea of the grid choosing the colors.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
There are some cases where you could say that's absolutely true. It could operate through the instincts of the one granting the powers. For example, way back to Mighty Morphin, maybe Zordon chose Jason to be the Red Ranger because he sensed that the grid was selecting him as the best candidate. Cole and the Wild Force Red Lion would be another example of that sort of thing. But then you have a team where Lightspeed Rescue, where I find it easier to believe that Carter was chosen to be the Red Ranger because of the qualities about him that they already knew, not that the grid chose him to be the Red Ranger. I think it's kind of the other way around. I think this ties into something that I've mentioned a few times before, having discussed it with former Hasbro exec Brian Casantini at Power Morphicon, the idea of cross-pollination, namely with the Power Rangers role-playing game made by Renegade. In some of their recent rulebooks, they've shown these pages of Ranger colors, firmly establishing, at least in their universe, something that us Ranger fans have known for a long time. Ranger colors tend to be associated with specific qualities. Red is usually courageous and a leader. Blue is usually geeky and intelligent, etc., etc. Funny enough, having incorporated the entire Power Rangers multiverse for this, they actually did a page for Orange Rangers, and it nailed me like a Zodiac. Creative, intelligent, imaginative. But to me, this just really continues this transformation of the idea of the morphing grid into this sentient, all-knowing force instead of just a neutral source of power. I mean, let me run this question by you. Does the morphing grid choose evil Rangers by their evil qualities? To me, the morphing grid really is just like the Force from Star Wars, as has often been compared to, even with the "May the Force be with you, may the power protect you" tagline, etc., etc. It's a power that both sides can access equally. It moves in mysterious ways, but it's hard to say that it has a will.
Moving right along, dugga-dum.
Right. So, the Rangers get another message from Mick now that their antenna is functional, and I just realized, since he's confused about why they haven't been responding, that he doesn't even know they've been teleported to Eridus. Anyway, he has good news and bad news. The good news is that Zedd definitely is on Levena. The bad news is that Zedd's forces are also there. The Rangers figure that this would be a perfect test for their brand new powers. They ask Billy if he's coming along, but someone says that she needs Billy and Fern to help her with something. Amelia gets her first line as the official leader of the Cosmic Fury Power Rangers, and it's incredibly underwhelming. Let's summon the Zords. Let's gaze at the stars. Episode 3, Off Grid. Pros: nice new powers, a heartfelt moral, and creative monster sourcing. Cons: debut of the powers is anticlimactic, the emotion and trauma is still in the wrong place, and cuts around a bit too much. The fact that I had to think hard for that third con does show some improvement. Off Grid gets 3.5 stars out of 5. So here we are, the official debut of 4 of the 6 Cosmic Fury suits. Us dedicated Ranger fans have been back and forth about these since they debuted a while back. The detailing is nice on them, though I really do wish they had just gone ahead and sprung for new helmets to match up with the Zords. Hey. The one downside is that the suits are mostly a single solid color, and that can make them look a little bit incomplete. The weapons are pretty nice, and overall for original suits, I think they work just fine. The moral of the episode was very simplistic, but remember what I always screamed during Ninja Steel. A simplistic moral can work for Power Rangers when it applies equally to the Rangers being the Rangers. Don't lose hope is a great moral for life, but it also applies very specifically to being a Power Ranger. I do like in this case how the moral didn't really solve the problem of the day, but instead was used as a justification on why Amelia became the Red Ranger. A unique challenge that this iteration of Power Rangers faces is needing to use some of the Zord footage and thus have monsters from the Sentai footage, but not being able to use any of the ground footage that establishes where those monsters came from in the first place. Alien wildlife is a pretty simplistic conclusion to that problem, but I do think that they did it rather well. Let me put it this way, that shot of the Scuttleworm splitting open and evolving reminded me of Resident Evil.
Yeah?
It is kind of a baffling decision to me to have this team's first new morph at the very end of an episode and not have that lead to any kind of a fight for next time. Sure, it functions as a nice little hook to watch the next episode, but really to me it feels more like a shameless tease haphazardly sewn into the plot. I mean, if you want to end this off with Amelia declaring, "Let's summon the Zords," have the team go to Levina, have a nice little ground fight in their new suits, then have her say summon the Zords, and cut. Amelia and Ion have an excellent conversation about emotional trauma, about repressing your true feelings, and even using activities that you normally love to hide from thinking about your true feelings and your fears. Meanwhile, Javi, who I will remind you lost an arm, struggles a little bit learning to play guitar again, and then hits a monster really hard, and then has new powers. I had some commenters tell me last time that Simon Bennett said that he was in close contact with a number of disability advocacy groups about the whole storyline with Javi's arm, and they were the ones that pushed him so hard to not have Javi be deeply emotionally disturbed by losing his arm.
What are you talking about?
If that is true, not doubting any of you, just saying, that strikes me as incredibly odd. I do kind of get it on the surface, wanting to see a disabled character portrayed as strong and capable and happy. But we saw the moment that Javi lost his arm. It has to be an arc. If we see it from the very beginning, we can't just fast forward to him being happy and well adjusted about it. He's got to go through that arc for it to be emotionally satisfying. I was glad to see the issue come up again, but it doesn't feel like a character arc yet. It just feels like minor little tweaks to his character. And yeah, like I said, this was a filling in the gaps con, but it is true that this episode jumps around a good bit. The base, Earth, Zedd ship, Mick on Levina, sort of. Back and forth and around, and it just never really gives the audience time to feel that they're rooted in any one place. You might see that as a good thing. I think it could use a little bit more stability. I never thought that I would say this about a 10-episode season, especially about an episode where brand new suits debut. But at this point, I'm starting to get the troubling feeling that Cosmic Fury is spinning its wheels a little. It just feels like they don't know exactly what they should be doing at this point in the season, probably due to the drastically different length. This show is limited in what it can do as far as Ranger footage due to a limited production budget and not as much ability to adapt the Sentai source footage. The show is instead written around out-of-suit character moments. Strong ones, again, don't get me wrong, but I want it to be Power Rangers. Maybe it'll be more Power Rangers in the 4th episode. We'll take a peek at it. It's called Teamwork. Ollie races Team Cosmic Fury to find Zato, but the now former Red Ranger's location is anyone's guess. They better move fast, though. Lord Zedd's forces loom. I do want to point out that I put the name of that episode on that next time slate exactly the way it's written out everywhere I see it talked about. 2 words, teamwork, instead of the single word, teamwork. Anyway, that's going to do it for another Power Rangers Cosmic Fury episode review. Thank you, heroes, so much as always for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that thumbs up button right down below. And while you're down there, leave me a comment and let me know what you thought of this episode. Until next time, heroes, may the power protect you. If I have the blessings of the masters and the power protects me, Cosmic Fury reviews will Is it perhaps time to do this take again? They're out of range, clearly. There's no real food to cook in the kitchen. Izzy says that a force field blocked them. They're still running up the ship. Reporting about mixed video about having found Zato rolling out a tall platform with oh, right! I should probably mention I had some and he struggles a little bit to play guitar and then does this take again. The show tends to be written right now around out-of-character suit. Knew that was going to happen. Especially one in which this episode... The show is instead then written around out-of-character, but his location is...